Is Cooper Flagg off to the best start a Duke freshman has ever had in the history of this men's basketball program? A lot of people are starting to wonder.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. So great to have you here with us today on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on in the life of Duke athletics, your daily podcast covering the Duke Blue Devils every single day. So thrilled to be a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's show, we got to dive into the run that Cooper Flagg has been on to open up this season. We'll talk about some other standout players through the first 18 games of the year and continue to get you ready for Saturday's game for the Blue Devils coming up against Wake Forest. This entire conversation today with our good friend Ryan Lommen at TheDukeNation on X. It's going to be a really exciting one, and we're glad that you're here with us. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and written review, and then watch our show each and every day on YouTube as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Really excited about the growth that we continue to see over on YouTube, and your support means the absolute world to us. So without further ado, let's bring him on into today's show. It is the aforementioned Ryan Lommen back with us once again. And Ryan, we're watching a 16-2 basketball team holding on to the nation's longest winning streak. Right now, not a whole lot that we can complain about in the world of Duke basketball, and that's really nice.
No, absolutely. I mean, the only thing you could think about complaining about is Malik Brown's injury. But other than that, it's been smooth sailing for the last 2 months almost now. So I was talking about on our show the other day where it's been hard to – and it's been a lot of blowouts too. There hasn't been a lot of close games in general. We had the Notre Dame game, which got a little bit closer than we probably would have expected. But otherwise, they've been taking care of business. And I've been busier this season and haven't been able to like just sit down and watch a game on my TV, but it's like you kind of haven't been missing much if you're just watching on your phone or on a mobile device at all. So it's like, it's kind of nice, but it's also like kind of missing the old ACC where like these games in January were a lot closer and we're just not seeing that in recent years. And I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, that is interesting. I've heard that same point from a number of different people where it's like, the way it's been going so far, if you miss tip-off, you're okay, because in some ways you might have just missed Duke jumping out to a 12-point lead all of a sudden with the way that they've been playing, or, you check in every half hour and that margin just continues to separate. The way Duke is beating teams within the ACC is just nuts, man. Early on in the year, I think it just speaks to the growth of this team, because we kept talking about some of these slow starts that the Blue Devils were having. A bit ironic given how Duke started this Boston College game and actually had to fight back a little bit early on. But for the most part, man, it has been right out of the gate, pedal to the metal.
Yeah, which is something that wasn't the case earlier in the season. So it's just seeing that constant improvement. And obviously we're playing lesser competition right now. But again, not having appointment television for Duke basketball in January. And I get it. You can call it, I'm going to watch Duke on my couch, no matter who they're playing. But some of us are adults and have kids and lives and stuff. So it's a little bit different nowadays than it used to be. But it's just been tough when you're not playing like any of these teams that you're playing who have been ranked in the past or better in the past. It hasn't been appointment television to start ACC play. And I guess you could make an argument. The appointment television is watching a guy like Cooper Flagg play, and I know we're going to get into it. Obviously, yeah. I'm not downplaying that at all, but just as far as marquee matchups go in the ACC, we just don't have it this year, and we haven't had it all around in the past few years. So it's weird. I'm enjoying it. Like, I'm still watching these games. Don't get me wrong. It's just I'm doing other things while doing it as well, or not making my plans around a Duke Notre Dame or a Duke Boston College or a Duke Wake Forest game. So it's like, in years past, maybe a few of these games would be a little bit more appointment television, but otherwise it's been kind of nice to just be like, man, they're doing their thing. I'm able to do my stuff in my personal life, but also able to keep an eye on it and not have to worry as well. So it's been comfortable, man. It's weird. I don't know what to think of it.
Yeah, you almost feel guilty. You feel like I don't want to be too comfortable because it feels like the other shoe's going to drop at any point now. And you look at these next 3 Saturdays, we're lined up for what would be games to sort of have on your radar to watch. With Wake Forest coming off their win over UNC at home. Wake Forest now just one loss in the conference, tied for second in the ACC. Next Saturday, Duke hosts North Carolina inside Cameron Indoor. That's a game that's going to get eyeballs every single time and always should. And then the following Saturday, another team right there tied for second within the league. Duke is at Clemson. So we've got a good runway here with a couple of games that are definitely going to be worth watching. And even beyond that, you made the point just a second ago, the way Cooper Flagg has been playing as of late, even before kind of the tear that he's been on since he turned 18 and since ACC play really ramped up. He was the best recruit coming into the game. So many people wanted to watch him anyway. But man, you really don't want to miss out now because he's mastered college basketball. I've been saying it all week, the way that he's been playing as of late.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And it kind of seemed that way to start the season too, a little bit, where it was just like the bye games that Duke had against some of these lower level programs was just like, he was not that he was doing anything wrong. It was just kind of like, I'll show up when I need to. Like, when I'm not super, maybe trying new things, maybe working on things, getting a feel for college basketball, getting a feel for the offense, just the atmosphere. Everything is brand new. So using those games as he should. And then it was like ACC play hit or the end of December hit. And it was just like a switch flip for him. And it's not that he was having bad games. I'm not like trying to downgrade what he was doing, but like he's just been unstoppable for the past few weeks here, past month or so. And it's been a sight to see. He's having one of the most historic Duke seasons in general, but for a freshman, obviously, as well. So, and then what he can do with his athleticism, you just never know what you're going to miss if you blink or turn your head to watch something else for a quick second. So, yeah, just super excited to see him continue to grow. And like you said, he's mastered the game, and like, he doesn't have anything else to prove right now. At this point, it's just going to be collecting accolades at the end of the season, and hopefully the big one for the team as well.
Yeah, and continuing to collect accolades throughout the course of the year. We'll have a little bit more on that here in just a little bit, but continuing game by game, offensively, defensively, the way he's leading this group as well, right? Like going to timeouts. It's just the little things that you see from Flagg already, knowing how important it is this time of year. Because you're right, Duke ultimately at the end of the day could lose a few games coming up over these next few weeks. Duke is going to qualify for the NCAA tournament. They're going to be in the mix. The number one goal still for this team is to be the national champion at the end of the year. And we know it's going to take playing 6 really strong games in March.
Yep, exactly. And to do that, having a guy like Cooper who is maturing, like you said, the leadership aspect, I think, is huge too, because it takes a lot for a freshman to be super comfortable. And obviously he's being as talented as he is it makes it a little bit easier. But the way that he is just talking on the court, always firing people up, always getting in his teammates' faces, not only when he makes a good play, but when other teammates are making great plays, just that energy that he brings and pulling the team together in a huddle. It's just, you wouldn't know it. He was 18. I know they say it on every broadcast that he's only 18 years old. And I'm even tired of hearing about it, but it's so true. It's like the fact that this kid is doing what he's doing from not only a talent standpoint, but a leadership standpoint, just shows what he's capable of, and also shows, like, it gives me more confidence going into March that like nothing's going to be too big for him and no moment's gonna outshine him. So I'm super excited about that.
He's so young. He reclasses in a year earlier and already dominating the game. So much fun to watch. So where kind of when within recent memory, looking at these top freshmen for Duke all time sort of thing, where do you think Cooper Flagg might rank? Here's a little teaser for folks out there as we'll continue our conversation with Ryan Lommen in just a moment here on Locked On Blue Devils today. Okay, Locked On Blue Devils is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time, the absolute best place to go and find your last-minute tickets. Attending NFL playoff games is an experience like no other. The energy, the excitement, and the connection with other fans are unmatched. I remember the thrill of seeing my favorite team clinch a playoff win live. It's a memory I'll never forget. This year, Game Time makes it even easier to create those unforgettable moments with their new feature, Game Time Picks. It filters out the fluff to show you only the best deals on great seats so you can focus on what matters most, being there. I've used Game Time Picks recently to grab tickets to some games with friends and couldn't have had an easier way doing it. I found a super deal that gave me incredible value for amazing seats, and I could even preview the view from my seat before buying. The all-in pricing is a game changer. There are no surprise fees coming at checkout. You know how much you're going to pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, go ahead and create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Game Time is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, so we keep this conversation rolling with Ryan Lommen. I'm JJ Jackson, talking about the run that Duke has been on as of late, talking about Cooper Flagg's game specifically. All week long, we've been having these conversations about the mastery of the game for Cooper Flagg. And I say that, you look at these numbers, he's averaging over 20 points a game in ACC play, shooting greater than 50% from three-point range. He's going to the line so more frequently than he was early on in the year. I mean, what we're seeing so far is that it's gotten to the point no team's going to be able to stop Cooper Flagg the rest of the way when you look at the rest of the talent pool within college basketball. The only way this man has an off game is if he starts to do that himself, which, again, for a guy that's only played 18 total games in college is wild to think about.
Yeah, and it's the old saying, like you said, you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him. And at this point, it's just as long as he doesn't get it in his own way, things are going to continue to go the way they have been. And as far as just enjoying what we have while we have it with a guy like him is just something that I feel like we've just been so, and we're going to get into it here shortly, but we've just been so lucky as Duke fans to have these young guys come through and have special seasons like this, that it's hard not to take it for granted, because it's like, all right, we got this one, when's the next one and come in and do it? Next one and come in and do it. But like, he's truly doing this at a record clip, and especially the part of dropping 42 points that hadn't been done since JJ Redick and over 18 years. So it's incredible, man. And I think the thing that I like most about it is just how well-rounded we haven't seen many players like him come through who have done it at all three levels, who have done it on the defensive end as well, who have brought the energy and the leadership, but also just the guy who wants the ball in his hands at all times. Like, he will never shy away from the moment. We saw it early in the season. Obviously the Kansas and Kentucky games, it didn't go that well, but like, he still wasn't going to be shy. He's still not going to be shy. And if you want one guy with the ball in their hands for Duke on April 4th or 5th, whenever the national championship is, you're going to go to Cooper Flagg, and he's going to want the ball. And I'm not saying there's a lot of freshmen that we've had that haven't had that, but to have that at 18 still and want to be the ball dominant guy and have the one to be responsible for it, it's a blessing, man.
Dude, it's epic to see. Like, you're right. He wants it. He wants that basketball. And at this point, we trust him. And I think the right play is going to be made. And sure, shots don't fall sometime, but it's gotten to the point where we're going to be able to live with that decision if it doesn't result in a game-winning play at the end. If it is possibly a repeat of what's taken place within the Kansas and Kentucky game, you look at Cooper compared to the rest of this team, and it just feels like, yeah, man, the way he's been playing and considering where he ranks amongst the rest within the game today, I don't know that there's a wiser play than to give him that basketball at the end.
Exactly. And you can't help but think that they've learned from those mistakes early in the season, because on every other facet of his game and everybody's game, for the most part, it has improved throughout the season. So the offensive flow has improved. Defense have continuously gotten better. Competition, obviously, I get it. I'm not, if there's any of you, I don't know how many listeners you have that hate Duke, but I get it. Haters, the ACC sucks. And so stats might be a little bit inflated, but you see the ability for Shire to adjust in years past. And you obviously know he's a smart coach. You obviously know Cooper Flagg's a smart player, and the rest of the team is as well. So you have those two mistakes at the beginning of the season with the late games execution, and you just know that has already been fixed. Like, we haven't got to see it yet, but now does that mean the shot's going to go in? I don't know, but I would put a lot of money on the fact that when it comes to late game execution, turning the ball over just isn't going to be part of an option or a possibility at this point, just based on Shire's recent history of adjustments and just how this team's improving. I have no reason to be pessimistic about a late game situation where Cooper Flagg has the ball in his hands.
So Cooper Flagg himself, and I'm really excited to see some conversations go off in our comments down below. And again, please subscribe to the Locked On Blue Devils YouTube channel to be a part of the discussion going forward. But when you look at what he's been able to do as a freshman, and as the years continue to go by, before you know it, we're all of a sudden going to be approaching like 2 decades since Duke really shifted into this one and done kind of era and pursuing the absolute best high school players available. Coach K's talked recently about kind of that shift with landing Kyrie Irving in the recruitment period back in 2011, 2010 range. And so looking at the run that Duke has been on and looking at where Flagg has been as of late, man, Duke's had top class each and every year. But to your point, it's only been a handful of guys within this run that are even worthy of that conversation. And now we're getting to the point where, with a lot of ball left to play this year, maybe Cooper Flagg is going to be kind of the runaway top freshman that we've ever seen play for Duke.
Yeah, and it's tough to rank like who you think. It all depends on what you're highlighting, right? But I do think from an overall well-roundedness of his game, Cooper Flagg has to be top 2 or 3 at this point.
Yeah,
we've had freshmen come in and score higher at a per game rate. We've had guys get more rebounds per game, but he's leading the team in all 3 categories and basically every statistical category you can at this point.
yep.
But he also brings on the defensive end, which isn't always the case with these freshmen. And doing that at his age is crazy. The guys that come to mind, as far as like, in my opinion, like top freshmen you want to compare, if you want to compare anybody, I'm not saying like comparable to Cooper Flagg's game. I'm just saying like guys that you put in this conversation are like, you go back to Jabari Parker, Marvin Bagley, Vernon Carey Jr., Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, Paolo Banchero. Like he's absolutely in that conversation and at the top of that conversation, in my opinion. There's a few of those guys that average more points and more rebounds than he did, but I just don't think on the defensive end, they all impacted the game the way he has. And so for me, he's got to be top 3 freshman. So like right now, the only thing I want to go back on that is still like the ACC is down. Like I don't want to take that away from Cooper Flagg, but like a lot of these guys were playing in an ACC where it was a ranked game every week or every other week at least. And so competition a little bit better, maybe, but you're still doing it. Like he still dropped 42 points. You're still leading your team in every major statistical category. So, but yeah, those are the guys that come to mind when I think of like comparison of like, where does he rank among those guys? And everyone's going to have a different order when it comes to those freshmen, in my opinion. And I apologize if I missed somebody, but I think like I can't help but not keep him in that top 2 or 3 right now, and has a great chance to go to number 1 at the end of the day.
No, undoubtedly. I mean, you think about the scoring that he's been able to improve on over the last few weeks. It's unbelievable. He's got the ACC freshman scoring record with 42 points in a game. He's well over 20 points a game scoring within this run for Duke in ACC play. Right now, a season total is still just a tick above 19. So if this continues, that number is going to continue to go up. And his scoring average has already surpassed Paolo Banchero with what he was able to do. You've got that Duke team from 2019 that makes it to the Elite 8 run, and you've got 2 freshmen 20-point scorers, kind of an RJ Barrett and Zion Williamson. Zion, of course, is more equivalent to what we're seeing here from Cooper Flagg, but from a 2-point efficiency standard, Zion still is king of the court in that regard. I mean, just looking back at his numbers are eye-opening if you haven't been able to take a look back at what that guy was able to do. But it's the all-roundedness, I think, of Flagg that really separates him, because sure, he's a little bit behind in those scoring departments, but then you add in the ball distribution, the rebounding, the blocks, the steals, everything on the defensive end, and wow, you're getting a really good basketball player.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why I do put it's Zion and Cooper at top 2 right now. Just they're both the most well-rounded defensively and offensively. I do think Cooper, I do think he's going to get up into that 21 to 22 points per game by the end of ACC play as a season overall. And it just might come down to does Cooper go to the Final Four and win a national championship with this team? Like it's a team game. It's very hard for me to be like, oh, Cooper was a better freshman because he won a national championship in Zion. Like sure, like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like that's what we're here for and what we talk about. But if you just look at the player itself, I think right now it's Zion 1, Cooper 2, and I could see that even if we don't hang a banner this season, I could still see Cooper Flagg taking over that throne. He's already average. He could potentially get to Zion's points per game, which is 22. If we're just looking at pure stats wise, obviously Zion a little bit flashier, maybe a little bit more athletic, but Cooper's not far behind, man. We've seen some of the highlights. So it's very tough for me. Like you can already tell, like I'm like nervous, like trying to go back and forth between the two because Zion was so good and I don't want to like undermine him. We're still in January, but There is a world where Cooper Flagg, in my opinion, overtakes him for number one freshman of all time at Duke.
Yeah, and well, when you look at freshmen in regards to the ultimate award, winning college basketball's Player of the Year,
Yep.
Zion's still the only guy that has been able to accomplish that while playing basketball at Duke. It's him, Anthony Davis at Kentucky, and then Kevin Durant at Texas. So if Cooper Flagg continues on this path, that's going to be pretty exciting when you look back at what Cooper Flagg's been able to do throughout the course of his career. All right, we'll continue this conversation after we take one more break here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Our show today is brought to you by Talkspace. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge, and that's where Talkspace comes in. Talkspace is the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting you help easier, accessible, and affordable. With Talkspace, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours, and it's convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your home and even message your therapist between appointments. Plus, Talkspace is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insured patient members, there is a $0 copay. It's never been easier to prioritize mental health. As a listener of this very podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnCollege and enter promo code SPACE80 to match with the licensed therapist today. Go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnCollege and enter promo code SPACE80, SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/LockedOnCollege, promo code SPACE80, SPACE80. Talkspace is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, so Ryan Lommen's here with us. He's at TheDukeNation on X. I'm JJ Jackson, and we're continuing this discussion about Cooper Flagg, the run that he's been on. One more kind of thing to look at, and you mentioned it a moment ago. If you start to evaluate these freshmen, again, there's no award for being the top freshman, other than I guess it's a Locked On Blue Devils award that we're now making up within the Duke community, and I'm sure that's really coveted by every player that commits to join the Brotherhood. But when you look at what they've been able to do against their peers in the year that they were playing, competition is everything. And so let me throw out a couple of more things that people might want to look at. This week, Cooper Flagg won his 7th ACC Freshman of the Week award. He's already got 7 of them. Con Knipple, his teammates, already been honored by the conference. This is turning into just a Duke award that the conference gives out every single week over the last few years. Yeah. Zion Williamson only won this award 4 times. Paolo Banchero won ACC Freshman of the Week 6 times. Marvin Bagley III won it 7, like Cooper Flagg has now. And then Jabari Parker has the record, winning the award 10 times. Still a lot of time left for Cooper Flagg to get back up to the ACC Freshman of the Week record there, 10 times that Jabari Parker was able to win going back to 2014. But that's kind of interesting to think about, because in that time frame, to your point, Roy Williams in North Carolina really have it going then. Tony Bennett and Virginia are at their peak. Coach K and Duke are doing what they're doing. So I guess that's a fair perspective to kind of look at this. But yeah, I thought that was interesting, Ryan, when you kind of go back and think about, wait a minute, ACC Freshman of the Week, a simple award. If we're evaluating freshmen week by week, who's doing it the best? Again, Zion only 4 times. RJ had it 2 or 3 times that season for Duke as well. But Flagg already was 7. He's surpassed Paolo. He's surpassed Zion, tied Marvin Bagley III, and on his way to Jabari Parker.
Honestly, that's crazy, man. I don't think there's an easy way for me to. I just Googled trying to figure out who won it in each year. I don't think it's as easy to find as that. But I would have guessed that 7 was on Paul, he was on pace right now with a Zion or Apollo.
Yeah,
I get it with the Zion year. There was RJ as well, but I'm bad at historical thinking of who were the freshmen in the conference at that time who was winning it over Zion and Paolo and
At that point,
looking
yeah,
back,
it just feels irrelevant, you know?
yeah,
Like,
and
it
so, like,
should have been these guys.
I would have put the over under at a lot of these guys at like 8 or 9 for the year. So that's crazy to me. It's 7 so far, and getting to 10 plus seems like it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, that's crazy. It should continue. I would assume there's just not that many freshmen in the ACC that are going to come close to doing what he's doing on a weekly basis. So that's crazy, man. That shocks me. I mean, I knew how many he had. I just didn't know that the other guys had so little. So, I mean, if that just goes to show you what level he's on, and is in competition as well as there is as well. But that's 7 already compared to, I mean, he's close to Jabari for the whole season, who had 10, and we're not even into February yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's still 5, 6 of these to give away, and you can't tell me that he's not going to get at least half of those.
Right.
So, yeah, knock on wood. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, that just goes to show another echelon for him to be in, is just being honored at that level. And like you said, his numbers now are just continuing to skyrocket during ACC play, because he's playing at a different level than he was in non-conference. So I do expect these averages to continue to go up, and he could end up becoming like a Duke freshman leading scorer when it's all said and done. Like, you're telling me he's not going to show up to play against UNC and Clemson and Wake?
Right.
Like, he loves these moments in these games. So yeah, super excited for it. And yeah, just gotta keep preaching. Enjoy it while we can, guys, because you could be UNC over here, man. Look at the guys down the road where they're bringing in these top freshmen, and they are not doing anything close to what Duke freshmen have done in the past. And not to get on a tangent about that, but like, just enjoy it while we can. We've seen blue bloods from the old that have gone by the wayside and haven't been able to do it over coaching eras, and we're got a long way to go with Shire. He's only in year 3 now, so long way to go, but we're off to a damn good start, if you ask me.
No doubt about that. And when you look at the competition that Duke's been going up against, these big marquee games against North Carolina are coming up. I mentioned Wake and Clemson and kind of those other teams that are atop the ACC. And to kind of go back into Cooper Flagg's boat, it's not his fault that these other schools are where they're at, you know, and that's what makes this entire conversation so interesting. You know, it's maybe Cooper's got the superpower to make the rest of the ACC that irrelevant.
Right.
But again, I don't know that you could, that's not really fair to hold it against him. It might be true, but is it fair to hold that against Cooper Flagg? Because he's not the one kind of comprising the other rosters within the conference.
And he's doing it at, I guess, a D1 level. He's doing it at a Power 5 level. Like, yeah, the ACC is down, but like, there's not guys who are doing this year in and year out at 18 years old at any conference level, at any level of Division I basketball. I'm saying from a freshman 18-year-old standpoint, obviously there's been players in the past who have done really well at that lower lower D1 level, but this is a Power 5 conference. It still is and always will be. And he's 18 years old and doing this. So yeah, ACC is down. Great. He's still doing what he's doing, and he's shown that he can do it against good teams too. Like, I don't want people to think he's only doing this against the lower level ACC teams. He's had great games against the better teams, and we'll get a test against Illinois again as well. Like, if people want to continue complaining about ACC, we get to play Illinois in a few weeks. So I have no reason to believe he won't continue doing what he's doing then. So enjoy it while we have it. Can't knock it because of the competition. Just, yeah, enjoy it while we have it, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy this year. Enjoy all the content coming from here on Locked On Blue Devils. And then, Ryan, I know that you do a lot of great work with the Duke Nation, with Crazie Cast, all those things. So kind of tell people how they can get plugged in and best support you.
Yeah, follow on Twitter, on X and Instagram at TheDukeNation, at Crazie Cast on X as well. Do a show with Zion, who runs Duke NBA, and Russ, who runs Duke Better on X. And so more shows coming in upcoming weeks. And yeah, check us out, man. We just did a midseason grades show that dropped today. So go ahead and check that out.
We appreciate the time, Ryan. It's good to see you. We'll do it again soon, okay?
Always a pleasure, JJ. We'll see you guys.
All right, that's Ryan Lommen at the Duke Nation on X joining us here on today's show. Really fun conversation. Let us know in the comments down below, where does Cooper Flagg for you rank amongst the best freshmen that we've seen already for Duke, just 18 games into the season? That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.